Hi there, summer vacation's going swimmingly. And I'm just goofing off mostly and recovering. If you saw my last video, you know I've had knee surgery. So, somebody suggested a mailbag episode, and I put out a call for questions, and I got a lot of them. And I'm going to get through as many as I can now. What game has been on your shelf of shame the longest? How long? And why do you think it's so challenging to get played? Probably the oldest games that I never ever played are some old Hans and Gluck games that I collect. So I collect, you can see these, a lot of Hans and Gluck games right here. And some of the older ones, some of the oldest ones I didn't get until later. Probably the oldest one that I have not yet played is Ming Dynasty, which I am curious to visit. The designer and I have a mutual acquaintance. And that mutual acquaintance told me, I might have misunderstood, but the impression I got was that something kind of got changed in development. This does not have a very good rating on BGG. I think it's sub 6. Why doesn't it get played? I just said it's a sub 6.0 game on BGG. How do you convince other people to play it? How do you convince your family to play it? Please play this game with me. It's like a 90-minute game, and I'm told it's kind of bad, but please. And I got this before I got the channel. Since I started the channel, and I've gotten a lot of suggestions from people on what games that they would like to see covered, and I've been acquiring a lot of them, and I haven't played a lot of them. And probably the one that I got the earliest that I have not yet played is Mammoth, which is still in shrink. Shake my damn head. There's too many games in the world. What was the game that solidified your status as a board gamer? That was probably Downfall of Pompeii. Now, I got into the hobby around 2004 or 2005, which is when Downfall of Pompeii first came out in German. And there was no English edition at that time. So I had recently joined a game group, just a bunch of BGG people, local, that decided to get together. And we met together very often. Many years. We've known each other for a long time. So anyway, I brought some games that I was familiar with. They were stuff like For Sale, and a lot of them were like games that they already knew about. And after a couple of sessions, I was like, I'm interested, but I want to bring a game that's new to them, that they haven't played before. And I used to browse BGG a lot, and I stumbled upon this game, this Der Untergang von Pompeii. And it sounded so interesting. And, not very complicated. And it's got look at that volcano. That's so cool looking. No English edition, only German. But longtime Canadian gamers will know about GermanGames.com. They're still around. They just rebranded. Their specialty from early days of the internet really was importing games from Germany. And you could order from them, and they would include a translation with the game. So maybe at some point I noticed that they had it. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. So I bought it, and they included a translation that made absolutely no sense. Like literally the setup made no sense. The game would not work the way the rules were printed. And I don't remember how, but I somehow figured it out, how you were supposed to play. And introduced it to my group. And as far as I know, everybody loved it. And I loved it too. And so that definitely sealed it in, this feeling of, I really enjoy this hobby. I like this hobby. I like board games, and I like playing board games with people. I like discovering new board games, finding good ones, finding those diamonds in the rough, that sort of thing. Because, when I'm getting into it, there's so many games I could have bought, right? And I picked that one, and I picked well. Did you ever receive a game as an unexpected gift that you thought was great? Who gave it to you, and why did you love it? Most people I know not to buy me board games as gifts. I don't know that anybody's really given me a gift unexpectedly. But at this point, I do have to give a shout out to Batuan. Don't know if he's watching. Hi, Batuan. Very, very generous viewer who has gifted me 2 games in the past. And the first one was Big Shot. He thought I would like it, and he was absolutely right. I love Big Shot. Big Shot, up there somewhere. Great game. I love it. I did cover it for the channel, so you can check that out. The other one he gifted me, super generous, oh my god, is Big City. And this is probably my one shame so far in the hobby, is that I have not had a chance to cover Big City yet. I've played it multiple times, and I was able to do a comparison video of the two editions of Big Shot, the Big Deluxe one and the one he sent me, the German one. I've played the game multiple times, and every time I play it, I think, yeah, I just want to play it again before doing a video on it. And then months go by. So that's my great shame. But I have played it, and I do quite like Big City as well. So those are definitely very welcome gifts. Thank you, Batuan. Which game has risen most in your esteem from its first play to today, and what has fallen the most? Fallen the most is easy. That's Machikoro. I have never, ever experienced such a crash from first game to, say, third game. First game was like, this game is great. Like, could this be a Catan killer? Like, this is really good. And then the second game played out almost exactly like the first game. And after we played the third game, we were like, I'm not sure we ever need to play this again. I think because that first edition of Machikoro, they had the display that like all the cards were available. I think in the expansion or a sequel, they maybe changed that up a bit. So maybe I'd like it more now, but I've never experienced that crash before or since. From first game, amazing, to third game, get this out of my face. Which game has risen the most is a tougher question. I did mention that there are a lot of games that for some reason my wife really clicks with, and I think are just okay, but because she likes it, she wants to play them again and again and again. And I play them again and again and again, and then I gain great respect for them because I still enjoy them even after like 30 or more plays. A lot of Oink games are like this for me. So Startups, Maskmen, Kobayakawa, Deep Sea Adventure are all games that the first time I played it, I was like, huh. The more I played it, though, the better I got. Like, the more I understood what the designer was going for, and the more it kind of clicked. And I like a lot of those games now. Now, a lot of them are also available to play on the Let's Play Oink Games app. So it's a great way to become familiar with the game. Sadly, they do not have Maskmen, but they, at the time of this recording, but they do have Startups and Deep Sea Adventure and Kobayakawa. And it's a great way to play the game multiple times until you kind of, get it. So I like to give Oink games a real chance, right? Like, even if the first game was just kind of I kind of commit. It's like, no, I want to play this again and again because these games tend to get better for me. Deep Sea Adventure, great example of this. But I've given Deep Sea Adventure as a gift, and when I talk later to the people, like, how did you like it? Their experience is almost always this. So I'm going to stop giving Deep Sea Adventure as a gift. See, in Deep Sea Adventure, you got your submarine, everybody's on the same submarine, and there's a big, long trail of treasures, basically. Face down, you don't know what their values are. And you roll dice to move your pawn deeper, perhaps collecting treasures along the way, but not necessarily, and at some point deciding to turn around. Everybody who is out of the submarine causes the joint oxygen level to drop, one per treasure that's being carried. So if nobody is carrying any treasure, nobody loses any oxygen, and people can go super, super deep. People's tendency when they play is to see this big, long trail of treasures, knowing that the ones at the end are super, super valuable, and treating it like a regular push your luck game. You think that's achievable, and it's technically achievable if everybody goes for it. But what happens is, some people are cautious and they collect treasures, and then that starts decreasing the oxygen level. Players who are too deep and they pick up treasures, they find that there's not enough oxygen for them to get back to the submarine. And what do they score? 0. They score nothing if they don't make it back to the submarine. So it almost guarantees a bad experience that first round. Fortunately, it's a 3-round game. So I like to warn people, give them a heads up about that. You're going to see this big, long trail of treasures. You're going to think those far ones are achievable. In practice, not in the first round, right? Be be cautious because the oxygen can run out really fast. If people can get through that first round, then they see that with all the treasures that come out, then the trail shrinks and those more valuable treasures become easier to obtain in later rounds. Which game are you almost ashamed to admit you really like? You mean like a guilty pleasure, maybe? Because I don't really believe in that. I think people can like games for all sorts of different reasons. And even if I don't like them, if other people like them, great. You know what? People in the hobby like to rag on Cards Against Humanity, for example. But when that game came out, that got people I knew playing games that would never touch a game otherwise. And it so perfectly fit their sense of humor. Instead of Cards Against Humanity, I prefer Joking Hazard. That's actually one that my son and I liked quite a bit. We got a bunch of the expansions, and I just took out all the dirty ones. With expansions, without dirty ones, it's really packed. And I mean, it's kind of fragile, because sometimes it just doesn't work, but you know, my son and I are into absurdist humor, so sometimes even when like the punchline of the comic that you make doesn't make any sense, it can still be funny. Slapshot was lots of fun. So Slapshot is kind of a stupid hockey game. And I say that because I'm teaching the game to hobbyists, say, and the hobbyists are expecting something different. And then when I teach them, because you have your hand of cards, right, which is your team, and you challenge another player, it's basically war, right? You're just choosing the order of your players and you're revealing them simultaneously and seeing what happens, right? When you hear the description as a hobbyist, you think that's a whole lot of nothing. And I played it with some friends, and when we finished, there was another party at the table, and they asked me, so what did you think of Slapshot? And we were like, well, you know, it's kind of stupid, you know, it's all right, you know, it's not that great. And they were like, you were laughing your butts off. And we didn't really notice, right? We were so focused on the mechanisms and judging it on that, we almost didn't notice how much fun we were having. What notable games outside of OG and card games do you really enjoy? I like story-based games quite a bit. They could be either the type like Tales of the Arabian Nights, which is a really fractured story, you know, where these completely discrete events happen to your characters that have no connection to each other. Although, when I'm the storyteller, I sometimes try to link them. Like, I'm always telling the stories to the same people, the same player, would be the player to my right, say. And so I'll try to remember the things I said in previous encounters and then try to work those in. Well, another example, and this is kind of weird, is those Choose Your Own Adventure games. I haven't played the second one. I have both. I had played the first one. Ridiculous game. Prospero Hall absolutely nailed the tone of those Choose Your Own Adventure books with a satirical spin. They absolutely hit it out of the park. I'm not going to say you're going to like the game, but if you like those old Choose Your Own Adventure books, I think you'll get a huge kick and a big laugh out of those games. Another series of games that are good for this are, and these aren't considered narrative games at all, really. Well, one of them is. The Flying Frog games. So, Last Night on Earth was not really the zombie game I was looking for. The search is still on for the one zombie game for me. A Touch of Evil is a little bit better this way. I have it. I could have gotten rid of it many, many times, but I have hung on to A Touch of Evil because I want to like it. I want to get into it and appreciate it and judge, because that sort of game, and the one that I'm really kind of betting on to be good, but I've only played it once, was Fortune and Glory. These are games that create stories just from the encounters you have. And they're not necessarily, like, they're not paragraph based, right? You're not reading from a book like in Tales of the Arabian Nights, but it's the same sort of idea that you have an encounter, and based on the encounter, something happens. And it's extremely evocative. And if your group is the type that's a little bit creative, you can easily kind of chain events together and have a kind of a plausible explanation for what's happening and why, and at the end it tells a story. So I have Fortune and Glory, another game that sits on my shelf and waits to be played more than once. Is there a game you wish you had capacity to play? Maybe a lifestyle game? You know, I wish I liked solo games more than I do. Certainly if I really like solo games, I could play them a lot. I can find the time to, late at night or something, or in the morning to play a solo game, and that could be a way that I enjoy the hobby. But solo games do not do it for me. I wish they did. I wish I could love solo games like a lot of other people do, but I just don't. It's just not why I play games. There was one time where I was like, I really wanted to play At the Gates of Loyang. I hadn't played it in years, and for whatever reason, it got it in my head. It's like, I really want to play that. And for whatever reason, I couldn't get it played. I don't remember why. So I decided I'm going to try the solo version. And I played the solo version, and I was fine while I was playing it. And in the end, I got a score, and I just had this feeling of, I just wasted like 60 to 90 minutes of my time, however long it took. I did a bunch of stuff for 60 to 90 minutes, and then in the end I got a score, and that's the end, and now I got to pack everything away. I'll go ahead. It's not really a lifestyle game, but it's one that I kind of bought into, that I really want to get played, and I want to play multiple times, and I want to get into it, and it's completely not my type of game, is Star Trek Ascendancy. And I have Star Trek Ascendancy, and I have all the expansions for the alien races that you would see in Next Generation or Deep Space Nine, because I was really into that kind of generation of Star Trek. I didn't get the Vulcans or the Andorians because that's more Star Trek Enterprise, which I did not get into, but I got like the Cardassians and the Ferengi and even the weird ones. I even have the Breen. And I'm going to be playing Star Trek Ascendancy with somebody, and they're going to be like, I love Star Trek. I've never heard of the Breen in my entire life. But I've heard of them. And in the end, isn't that what matters? That's a real aspirational game for me to own. It's not short. It takes up a lot of table space. I bought all these expansions, even though I hadn't played it and knew it was very likely that I would never get a chance to play it. But I would love to. I would love to have a chance to play Star Trek Ascendancy multiple times and get into it. Just because when I was younger, I just loved that era of Star Trek. Was never really into Star Wars. I'm not into a lot of sort of geeky stuff. To me, Star Trek wasn't geeky, it was nerdy. So I wish I had the capacity, I wish I had the time to play it and play it repeatedly with maybe the same group of people. It would just be wonderful. Too many games. Too many games. Too many games. Hey, thanks for watching. Remember, older games like some of the ones I mentioned don't stop being good. They continue to be good even if better games came out. Wait, that came out wrong. They're still good, is my point. Maybe new ones are better. I don't know. But the old ones are still good. Maybe the old ones are better. Who's to say? I'm to say.